Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we're going to go over some aspects that actually can create a sense of longing where an avoidant is craving you or desiring you, something of that sort, kind of craving your presence. Some of y'all are calling it like your energy or something like that. We're not going to get too caught up in the semantics. I'm just saying that an avoidant really desires you and feels like there's a connection between you and it's something special to them. And obviously, it's something they want to continue to have. They don't want you to leave. And the very first way that avoidants start realizing how they feel about you and that deep attachment towards you is when you guys have meaningful and deep conversations with each other, okay? Avoidants actually, even though they feel uncomfortable with intimacy, sometimes it can be triggering too, but that doesn't mean that's not something that they need and desire. A lot of times these deep conversations create a low intensity of deep and meaningful connection. So what I mean by that is it's not like you guys are declaring love on the first day or something like that. That's very intense. However, if you guys have deep conversations about maybe your financial views or your perception of something, whatever it may be, something maybe a little bit less stressful, not necessarily politics, even though that sometimes can be, something deep and connecting that reinforces that both of you are independent, but also able to bond in this particular space. This enhances connection because it allows that avoidant individual and you, both of you guys, to feel safe in a confined but measured space. So it's not necessarily something that feels completely unattainable or too overwhelming. I hope that makes sense. It creates a safe space. The next way that avoidants actually crave your presence and who you are as a person is when you guys do new activities together. So something that can create some form of novelty. And I've brought this up before. It's usually when your partner is able to see you in a new situation. So not necessarily something new for them or new for you, but new for you guys together, okay? The reason why is because a lot of times every single person that I've ever seen or worked with or whatever it may be has many faces to them. And when you are doing a new activity together, you can see the other perceptions and faces of another person. For example, if you guys are going, whatever it may be, like diving in the ocean. What is it called? Where you cliff diving. That's kind of something that you will see different characteristics about somebody. Maybe other people will go all the way on the top of the cliff, right? And they'll do like a little flip. That's something that shows, okay, this person is adventurous. Where another person might be a little bit more apprehensive, go on like a shorter or smaller cliff, and they'll take that one and jump off of that one. So we're seeing different personalities and different sides of yourself that you don't necessarily see day to day in the relationship. And what ends up happening is they see you in different roles. And that can be very appealing and attractive because they see you in many different ways. They might see you as your adventurous side. They might see you as your curious side where you're learning. They might see your problem solving skills and you can see those sides of them. Maybe they're more cautious. Maybe they're more comfortable with learning. Maybe they are more comfortable with certain situations but not with others. I'm going to give a personal example that I remember seeing with me and my partner. I am a person who is very detached typically, not as much anymore, but I'm not a very social person. However, that doesn't mean I'm uncomfortable in crowds. I have no problem speaking in front of like 300 people all by myself. I don't care. That doesn't make me uncomfortable presenting my findings or what I'm sharing. I have no issue with that. I'm not uncomfortable talking. I don't feel uncomfortable about that. And that's a different side that my partner's not going to always see in our relationship. Of course, he still sees it, but not necessarily to the same extent. I have no problem presenting things. He, on the other hand, he is also very detached, but he is not as comfortable presenting findings. He was for his job, he's in finance. Sometimes they have to prepare presentations and it's not his favorite. He's still going to do it, but he doesn't always like presenting like things about whatever the financial climate is or whatever it may be. He's not like the biggest fan of it. He has to sometimes prepare in advance because it can make him uncomfortable. But that's a side of him that I don't see in the relationship. Between us, he can appear way more confident in general. but he doesn't seem that confident in that type of space. Whereas for me, I have absolutely no issue doing that. I don't have any nerves. I can do it on the fly. It doesn't bother me. And so you can see these different angles of relationships. And I think that this helps people to adapt and grow, but also appreciate the differences about your partner. For example, if you put your partner on a pedestal, which you shouldn't do. I don't think that's healthy, but sometimes people do that, but you see them be more shy in an uncomfortable situation. That shows, you know what, this is just a person, right? This is dynamic. Now, if you see them as someone who's really uncomfortable in social situations, like I might be perceived as someone who's like very detached, emotionless, and I can be, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'm uncomfortable or shy in certain situations. I have no problem talking in front of many people. And so you learn different things about people, and that can be attractive and comfortable. So doing things together, maybe doing a presentation together, very random example, but anything, playing soccer together, playing basketball, whatever it is, you learn things about each other, and that creates a bond. The next one is any sort of reinforced compromise, okay? Communicating openly and collaboratively about time spent together. Acknowledge your partner's preferences while also suggesting your preferences. This creates more meaningful time together. So, example, let's say you want to spend a lot of time together, in the sense hours. So you want to spend 6 to 5 hours, maybe even overnight, every night. This is just a very variant example, okay? And let's say the avoidant partner would prefer like 4 hours once a week. And so already we're having two very different perspectives, right? But instead, let's kind of blend it together collaboratively. Maybe it could be 2 or 3 times a week, but it's not too often. Maybe one overnight a month, but every of those typical times, maybe just 4 to 6 hours. Find a way to compromise together and reinforce it. So what I mean by reinforce it, appreciate each other's side. You know, thank you for sharing that, or that makes a lot of sense. I didn't think about it like that. So you guys are connecting in a way where it's problem solving together. A lot of times this creates that comfort and relaxation that the avoidant partner is appreciated for who they are, and you are appreciative of who you are. Does that make sense? The next one is actually you want to understand each other's communication styles. Every person is different. Everyone communicates very differently. So partners should learn how to connect with your partner, okay? Avoidants show love typically through actions, let's say running errands, rather than verbal compliments. This is a very common one. Anxious partners actually benefit from reassurance and compliments. So if you're an anxious person, obviously it's helpful if this fits your perspective. Your avoidant partner might show you love. It's better for them to communicate that love by reassuring you, I love you, or you look beautiful, right? That might help you. Whereas for an avoidant, it might not do as much as you making them a sandwich for their work trip, right? And so this is the way that you guys, once you learn what is beneficial for both individuals, by you understanding your partner's communication style, they will crave that because it fits their understanding, right? It's palatable to them and they understand it and process it better, which is how they are able to crave it in a more a prominent perspective, right? It's hard for them to crave something that they're not fully familiar with. Usually that's the way it goes, not all the time. The next one is we want to use logical communication while communicating emotions, right? This is going to create a situation where emotions are safe, but emotions are still something that is valuable in the relationship. A lot of people make the mistake where they think emotions or talking about emotions at all means that this is going to be a huge trigger. Not necessarily. You need to get comfortable talking about emotions, both of you guys, in order to have a healthy relationship. But communicating a little bit more logically can be helpful. You can express your concerns in a logical manner while still incorporating emotional context and terminology, okay? Avoidance may favor discussions that are logical. However, you want to have that emotional expression. So you can say something like, I really appreciate you doing X, Y, and Z for me. However, I will admit I was a little disappointed about A, B, and C. I still see your progress, but what can we do to manage this so that this doesn't happen moving forward? You said the word disappointed. That's an emotional communication. However, you weren't upset necessarily. You're not putting them in a corner and you're just trying to find a solution. Overall, the template is pretty logical. However, it was not absent of emotions, okay? The next one is we want to create interdependence. Interdependence is what we perceive in psychology and just in general, a combination between independence and dependence. We don't want too much independence and we don't want too much dependence, okay? So partners should engage in personal hobbies while also integrating activities together. This creates a sense of independence while also preventing over dependence, okay? The next one is we want to avoid pressure, but we still want to balance it by communicating against the individual's triggers. And I'm going to explain this because it's a little confusing, okay? We don't want to say, I know that you struggle with commitment. We need to get married right now so that you can learn to be more comfortable with commitment. That's not helpful. That's not going to help anything, right? However, you can say something along the lines of, I'm aware that you struggle a little bit with commitment, but how do you feel about us going on vacation together? I think that's not too much. What do you feel about it? So you're appreciating their perspective, but you're also not saying, okay, you don't like commitment, let me just never talk to you, right? You want to navigate in a space where both you guys are getting your needs met, okay? And the next one and the last one, and then we're going to summarize and wrap it up, is we want to reduce the frequency of arguments. That doesn't mean never have arguments, but you want to encourage moving past negative experiences instead of dwelling on them. This will help to create a sense of safety in the relationship. Avoidants tend to crave where they feel safe, not necessarily where they crave just high intense emotions. Some fearful avoidants do crave intense emotions, but overall, even fearful avoidants, they tend to stay where they feel comfortable and safe. They feel appreciated. Most people actually do, but especially avoidant attachment style folks. So aim for constructive communication and conversations to alleviate the anxiety for both individuals, because a lot of avoidants have a lot of anxiety when it comes to negative communications, okay? So let's go ahead and summarize, and then we're going to wrap it up, okay? The first one is meaningful conversations. The second one is doing new activities together. The third one is reinforced compromise. The fourth one is understanding the differences between your communication styles. The fifth one is using logical communication while incorporating emotional terminology. The sixth one is creating interdependence. The seventh one is avoiding pressure, and the eighth one, is reducing frequency of arguments. I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I will see you in the next one.